Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tom Baker Show, presented by TrackTune. We have got an extraordinary mini-series of shows to present to you over the next few weeks. We had the opportunity to join our friends from TrackTune in their booth at the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show back in December. If you're not familiar with PRI, you can go look it up, Performance Racing Industry. And that show is an amazing show. We'll be telling you a lot more about it over the next few weeks. But we are going to bring you a variety of different voices, people that we had the chance to sit down and talk with over the course of that 4-day show. And we are really excited about this mini-series because we are going to talk with people from all over the motorsports divide. We're going to start with a couple of good friends of mine and a couple of our biggest colleagues and supporters. First of all, we're going to talk with Tony Stevens, who founded PRI TV. Tony is really just an outstanding videographer and has put together a live streaming company in PRI TV that just covers all kinds of different forms of motorsports. I've worked with Tony several times and really enjoy the opportunity to work with him and his staff whenever we get the chance. And so we're going to talk with Tony on this show. We're also going to talk with one of our colleagues at PowerTube TV, Ray Iddings. And Ray sat down with us for about 30 minutes or so and just gave us some great information about his background. It was a lot of fun to get to know Ray a little better, and really enjoyed the opportunity in general to get to know a lot of our fellow creators from PowerTube TV who are on hand at the show. PowerTube arranged a nice mixer for us one of the nights and gave out some awards and put out some food and all that. Just had a big time there. Just quite a do, if you will. So looking forward to that. We are going to start with Tony Stevens, who I've known for several years. And Tony and I had a chance to sit down and talk about his background, talk about PRI TV, I should say, and talk a little bit about where he sees the motorsports industry and the streaming piece of it. Where is that going? And Tony will talk with us about that as well. We are coming to you from the 2024 PRI show in Indianapolis, Indiana. We are inside the TrackTune booth, our coverage being brought to you by TrackTune and also by Radical Race Gear. We are sitting with Tony Stevens, who is the founder and chief cook and bottle washer for PRI TV. I'm going to call you that because I know it's to say something like CEO drastically understates your responsibilities and all of the stuff that you do at PRI. So thanks for taking some time to talk to us.
Well, thanks for having us over here. You're actually closer on my quote-unquote official title than anybody else. I don't call myself an owner. Even though I am. I don't call myself a president. It's pit row, so what do you have in the pits? You have stewards.
Yeah.
So I am the chief steward.
There you go.
That's
chief
exactly
steward
it.
of
Yeah,
Pit
that's
Row
exactly
TV.
it.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yes.
When did all that start?
Truth be told, it started in some incarnation probably about 20-some years ago.
Okay.
But it didn't actually become a thing until about 10 years ago. Did a lot of freelance like a lot of other folks and did some other stuff on the side and, tinkered with this through college and that and whatever, high school even. And about 10 years ago, got to the point, I was like, okay, I need to actually look at doing some more with this stuff, and I'm not just a freelance guy anymore. And then it kind of took off. Situations presented themselves, and next thing you know, here we are.
Well, it's 2024, and obviously video's been in for a while. But what is it like for you? I mean, I know you do a ton of shows during the year, but you also have staff all over the place doing shows you're not at. So talk a little bit about the growth of Pit Row and kind of what the environment's like for live streaming these days and some of the challenges maybe that we face now that maybe weren't present 5-10 years ago.
Go read a book on the Spanish Inquisition, and that's about what it's like. No, I'm kidding. It's different now than it was 10 years ago, no doubt. Obviously, 10 years ago, the whole concept was new. I mean, when you look at what it is now, we've basically taken the model of cable and everybody else and recycled the model, and it's literally coming back full circle in more ways than the average person even knows. But when it started out, it's just like every other budding industry where it's learning everything, right? And everything from a technical standpoint of I still to this day, even though we have technology in place that really helps prevent it, it's not out of the realm of possibility to have something crazy happen and knock you off the air, for instance. But to this day, I have nightmares because it felt like every other show, something's trying to knock you off the air, and you have no control over it. Well, now we have pieces of technology that help prevent that. But even just that, I have anxiety over that every time I go to a show. My crew thinks I'm crazy. But it's like, no, you weren't here 10 years ago when this happened.
We don't think, Tony. We know you're crazy. You have to be crazy to be in this industry.
You're not wrong. You really do. But you have to have a passion for it, a love for it. And especially some of the events. I mean, there are certain events we go to. It's, okay, you're there 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, and you're done, right? There's other events we go to where you're literally there for 16 hours in the day. Yeah. And that's not for everybody.
We just did one.
Yes, but that's not for everybody.
Right.
Right. So you've got to have some sort of passion for it and understand what you're doing and really enjoy what you're there for. And I got to give it to my guys. They are very passionate about racing. They're passionate about delivering the stories, creating this cool product that people get to consume, and doing it in a way that's entertaining and fun. And you know, I've always said we've got to make this fun, not only for us but for the viewer, because number one, it transcends and it comes through. But number two, you know, you don't always have to be a robot serious.
Exactly.
Right? There's nothing wrong with that, so to speak, but we're at a level we're not dealing with multi-bazillion-dollar companies. We can have a little personality, and the fans understand that too, and I think that brings a different element to it than maybe some of the others.
Well, especially in the short track realm of things, right? Because that's what we expect. You know, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of drama, there's all of that. And I think it's just a different presentation than when you get up, you know, to the big national level like you talked about with all the big corporations. But I'm wondering if you can explain to our audience, because I'm sure a lot of fans don't really understand just how much goes into a simple, I say simple, but a basic live stream. Can you talk a little bit about what the process is like, what the equipment is, and just kind of walk somebody through how it goes from plugging stuff in to bringing you a race?
So we show up about 10 minutes before the race. We plug in a camera and we hit start.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
What everybody
right?
thinks.
That everybody thinks. Yes. Yeah. And for our level of stuff, there are shows like that where you have an hour's worth of prep because it's a simple deal for whatever reason. And then there are shows where you literally have 2 days worth of prep, and that's what, as you said, a lot of folks don't see. They don't understand all the stuff we do behind the scenes to make sure this works and that works, and there's a failover in case this thing goes down, and all this other stuff. And as everybody scales up the production, there's that much more work, and it looks so cool to the viewer. And again, it's just like, you know, you watch a NASCAR race or an IndyCar race or whatever, everybody thinks, wow, that's so cool. Yeah. But those guys are there all week getting that show put together, right? And we're in the same boat at this point for two reasons. One, it's gotten that complex. Yep. Two, we don't have the staff that they have. So our folks have to do more work per person than those guys do. So proportionally, it's probably about the same, if not more, on our end. But you think about it, I mean, I'll use Road Course World Finals from the NX Legends from a few weeks ago. What folks never would have seen and never would have known, I think I made 3 separate trips to VIR from Charlotte just to scout the facility to make sure all of our technology matched up with what they had and how it would all work, so that when we showed up on race weekend, everything worked, everything functioned. The biggest question mark we had was something stupid like, where on the lift do we put the camera, right? Something simple like that. So there's a lot of that work behind the scenes that goes into it, not just from the preparation standpoint, but even just the setup standpoint. Again, VIR, for instance, we had to run fiber all over the place. That particular facility, a place like a Daytona or a Charlotte or an Indianapolis, they're built 100% for TV. And if you're not familiar, we don't use coax cables anymore, or copper, as we'll call it.
Sure.
Some cases you can, because it's a short enough deal. But most of these broadcasts are run heavily on fiber optics.
Okay.
And a facility has to have the infrastructure to support that when you're dealing with something as big as a racetrack. And some places, Daytona, Charlotte, Indianapolis, they have 10, 15, 20 what we call fiber drops around the facility. Basically, they're places that they've already pre-run fiber optic cable.
Okay.
You hook your short run in and go to where you've got to go. If it's going to a network switch, if it's going to a camera, if it's going to whatever, that's where it goes to. There's still a lot of work involved with that, don't get me wrong, but you're talking 300-foot runs versus a place like VIR. I think our longest run was over 2,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
So we had to run all of that and then obviously strike it at the end of the night. So that's a lot of the stuff folks don't see, and we have to go figure out what we're doing to make sure all that stuff works.
Well, and then there's the equipment and the video-specific equipment, cameras, all of that. I feel like that technology leapfrogs itself faster today than it ever has. Something comes in, you go buy the latest and greatest, and 4 months later, it's not the latest and greatest anymore. How do you keep up with all of that? And realistically, I mean, are we to the point where people are shooting in 8K or 4K? I mean, where are we at with all of this, and where is it going?
It's going to keep going forward. Just as you had the old black and white TVs back in the day, and eventually you got a color TV. I remember when I was a kid, and we finally got a color TV in my mom's bedroom, right? We had one in the living room, but not her bedroom. I was like, oh, this is great. But it's the same prognosis, right? There comes a point of diminishing returns. The 4K deal is attractive to everybody, but just as everybody got familiar with 4K, now you got 8K TVs, right? There comes a point where that pixel density, and I'm getting real technical for folks, but there comes a point where that pixel density doesn't matter. You can't see anything any clearer, so what's the point other than just saying you have, right? They've been recording stuff like the Olympics in 8K for the last 10 years, but nothing can support it. And we're in the same boat where we can do some of the 4K stuff, but nobody has the bandwidth to support it. I mean, you think about what we have to do for HD video, true HD at 1080, and not to get everybody with numbers because it doesn't matter, but the 4K version of that requires 4 times as much bandwidth minimum.
Wow.
And you're already dealing with a lot of bandwidth at 1080. Not only do you have to deal with the bandwidth, but now you have equipment. Again, you can't use the same cable to do a 4K camera as you can, something from 20 years ago, right? There's technical limitations and everything else. So it's going to progress with that, but it's going to keep going that direction. And you're going to see more and more folks get to that point just because the technology eventually gets cheaper, just like anything else, right? So it's going to continue to push. But like I said earlier, it's the same cycle as cable and satellite and everything else. It's just now scaled down. It's in a different medium. And you're going to see that exact business model just repeat itself.
And what brought you to the motorsports side of things? Because obviously with your abilities, and your talents, your skills, you could be live streaming anything or doing anything in the realm. Why motorsports? Were you a race fan from little, or how did that?
I hit my head once when I was a kid, and I think that's what did it. No, I've been a race fan since as long as I can remember.
Okay.
I was born in Bristol, Tennessee.
Oh,
everybody knows what's there.
Yeah.
And
there's a little track there.
I was spoiled from day one, quite literally. My mom and my dad actually split when I was very young.
Okay.
But my dad was a motorcycle drag racer and a master fabricator. I never really got to see much of that, but I've been aware of it. And my mom tells a story when I was about, I think, 6 weeks old or 8 weeks old or whatever it was. They went to the drag strip. And just like any mom would, takes the kid. My dad, I guess, was racing or had a bike there or whatever. And like any good mom, she put something in my ear to try to save me from the sound. She looked down 20 minutes later, and it was gone. Well, they were cotton balls. So she's looking, they blew out, whatever. She found some other, put them in, whatever. It's fine. So she was just curious what happened because she couldn't find them. About 3 days later, she found them.
Okay.
They passed through the system. So I was doomed from a young age.
You ate the cotton balls.
Apparently, yes. I was doomed from a young age, and that's apparently
that's
what
what happened. You ate some cotton balls as a kid, and look at you now.
Well, that too. I wanted to hear the sound of the race engines, I guess. So it started from a very young age, and there we went. But it's, growing up around it in that sense. We never really had a lot of racers in my family other than that, and so I never was really around it. But growing up in that region, obviously, we got to experience Daytona 500 wins as a community and all the stuff that went around with that. So it was something I grew up with. It's always been something I've had a passion for.
Okay, so let's get to the goods here. So Pit Row TV, how many shows a year does Pit Row TV broadcast? And talk a little bit about, if there's people out there that don't subscribe to it, you should, but why?
1, 2, 3. How many toes do I have? Hang on. This year actually didn't count how many shows we had a hand in. I won't lie. Some years I will. Some years I don't. You just forget about it. I think on a given year, we usually have 100-plus shows we have a hand in. There's a large number of those on the Pit Row TV platform, and as you said, you can subscribe at pitrow.tv. It's PITROW, just like it's right here. But you can go in there and subscribe, and it's just a monthly, inclusive everything. Go enjoy it. We've got apps for Apple TV, Android, Fire TV. You can get those on the website, that type of thing. So you can subscribe that way. We do a bunch of those. We also have a hand in the ASA races on Track TV through Bob Sargent Track Enterprises.
Okay.
We've been producing all of those this past year, and those are fun ones because those are more technically challenging.
Sure.
I love those. We also do a lot of work with U.S. Legend Cars and NX, doing all their national events. And then there's a few little oddballs here and there we'll have our hands in as well. You might not know about till after the fact. But we stay pretty busy, and then, yes, all the shows we have on our platform on top of all that. So there's a lot.
You and I were just in Batesville, Mississippi together for the O'Reilly Auto Parts National Indoor Kart Championship. So much fun to do a broadcast like that for go-karts, because these are racers, obviously, it's the grassroots of the grassroots, right? And so much sort of personality, drama, tension. That's a marquee event for the dirt kart set. But what I want to ask you about is, you brought the house for that race this year. So multiple cameras, you brought the truck that you have. How do you determine sort of what goes where and what events get that sort of treatment?
It's a little bit of a magic formula that varies race to race. You've got different factors as far as what certain promoters are expecting, what you've promised them, the economics of it, right? If you have 5 people watching a show versus 5 million people watching a show,
sure,
it's kind of that.
Okay.
The 5 million crowd is going to get a better treatment than the 5. I hate to do that because I hate to have to pick winners and losers, but it's the simple economics of how it works. So that has a lot of what goes into it. And it's a factor of it. And then, you talk about karting. Well, we're going to Daytona here in a couple weeks as well to
Daytona
do Daytona Kart
sure.
Week. And anything with that name on it needs to get creme de la creme treatment. So
sure.
That's always a struggle to get enough stuff and enough people in that place, because it's a lot of people between Christmas and New Year's to get down there.
And there's
yes.
multiple events going on at the same time.
Yes.
It's not just like one event at one track or course. You got about 3 that are
Correct.
going on different parts. You got dirt,
Yes.
you got enduro, you got the sprint kart stuff. So you've got a whole bunch of stuff to consider.
Yeah, we do. The dirt track is probably the easiest one to deal with, just because that's what we do most of the time is oval tracks, and they're simple and they're easy. The next most difficult one's the sprint track. It presents its own challenges. We're doing something a little different there this year than we have in years prior for various reasons. And then there's the enduro, a.k.a. the Rolex course.
Okay.
And that's one that I would love to do one day. But back to earlier in the conversation, the expense of doing a race that big. I've never sat down and done the official math. I've ballparked it. And my guess is just to do that event at Daytona is probably about at least a $30,000 to $50,000 production to do it right.
Wow.
I mean, we could put one camera on the roof somewhere and hope it has enough lens to get to the backstretch. But if we're going to do it right, we're probably going to spend at least $30,000 to $50,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I understand it, because obviously it's a big expanse. You got to have multiple cameras, because you can't just put one camera and it sees the entire course. And of course, multiple cameras require multiple operators and so forth. So yeah,
multiple engineers,
Yeah.
multiple hotel rooms,
Yep.
multiple flights, multiple
Exactly.
everything.
It all adds
It starts
up.
to get exponential very quickly.
yeah. And I think that's what I wanted to kind of get out to the fans, is there's so much more to this than just bringing a camera and turning it on and saying, hi, we're here at your local track, and we're gonna it's very expensive to do this stuff, and it isn't getting any cheaper anytime soon, right? So how do you, without kind of giving the whole formula away, how do you work with these tracks for the different events, the smaller tracks especially, because these guys aren't making millions of dollars a year? So how does that work if a track wanted Pit Row TV to come and do their event?
It varies based off of various factors, and I'm not trying to do that to sidestep your question. It just legitimately there are different business models for different events,
of course.
right? There are certain events where promoter says we want to have you there and do it this way. How much does it cost? It's X dollars. Great, let's go do it. There's other events where we go, you know what? That's a good event. Our subscribers have been asking for it, and we know they want to pay attention to it. We're going to take the risk on it, and we'll pay Mr. Promoter X dollars to do the event. More of a traditional TV model, right?
Okay.
For bigger events anyway.
Yeah.
But same thing. ESPN back in the day, you'd have smaller events paying for airtime on ESPN, and they would get their TV time, and it would pay off for them, right? So you have both sides of that model where either we're paying for the rights to the event, or a promoter wants to pay to distribute or produce their event or whatever the case is. So it's a little bit of both. And again, it goes back to how complicated do you want to make it, right? It's like everything else at this show. How fast do you want to go? How fast can you afford to go?
Right.
How pretty can you afford to be? It's really that simple.
It's just interesting because I feel like this is a time when so much of that's opening up, and you've got networks now like Speed Sport 1, you got PowerTube TV, you've got all of these streaming networks that kind of do business, some the same, some different, but it really is just the same as television in so many ways. The broadcast piece is just the type of distribution. This is television in the internet age, is it not?
It really is.
Yeah.
And the traditional TV guys, truthfully, they get a little offended by it.
Of course.
And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Because they've busted their butt their entire career to do things and learn certain things and understand processes and kind of get up on the tech. Now, guy can go to, not really quite go to Walmart, but can go to Walmart, buy enough stuff to make a decent-looking show if they know what they're doing, and they're in business for $2,000, right? And the other guy spent $2 million, and he's like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
Right. But it really is TV. There was, it's probably been 4 or 5 years ago now, that we were part of a crew that went to the Chili Bowl, and we all know the Chili Bowl. That year we had a pre-race show. And it was part of the Speed Sport Live on MAV TV. So we went there, produced a show, and we did some stuff we didn't tell anybody about. Nothing bad, but we just wanted to run the experiment to see if anybody that is big-time TV noticed what we did or didn't do.
So you were aiming this at who to notice? The viewers, or
the people behind the scenes?
Okay, behind the scenes.
Just to prove your point.
Okay.
And we got done with the show, the entire pre-race show. It was an hour-long live show at the Chili Bowl. Ask Ralph Shaheen about his golden driller, and he'll be glad to tell you about it. There's a funny story with that's a different time, different place. But in any case, we did the entire show, and we did it with the same equipment we do streams with. Nobody anywhere in the chain said a word. Everyone's like, "Oh, look, great show, everything else." We just did a show at that point for a budget probably at least half, if not a bigger number, less than they were producing stuff previously for shows like that.
Wow.
And we had the same workflow, some of the same people, and it literally is TV now, just as you said, delivered differently. It's all the same intricacies, all the same fail-safes, all the same processes. It's all there. We have to do it the same exact way.
Yeah, I mean that's why even when you talk to companies about advertising or whatever, I think there's still this impression that somehow the internet is less. Oh, you're on the internet. Well, yes, but everybody does stuff with their phone now.
They do.
So to me, I feel like the internet's almost becoming the place to be, and broadcast is slowly getting to a point where it's going to be second place because everybody has access to the internet. More and more people are unplugging their cable and broadcast stuff.
Right, and you use the term broadcast, it's really the wrong term to use because you're still broadcasting.
Right.
Instead of delivering over the air over a piece of copper, well, technically there's still copper involved, but instead of delivering it that way, you're just changing your delivery mechanism, right?
Yeah.
YouTube TV is becoming the new satellite TV.
Absolutely.
Same exact thing, same exact pricing model, different delivery mechanism, right? So it's the same type of deal. But you're right, everybody's going that direction, and as I said earlier, the whole business model is changing but staying the same.
Yeah.
The newest thing you mentioned are fast channels, and fast channels are great.
Fast TV, free ad-supported television.
Correct. And those basically are the equivalent now of over-the-air television. Used to be you get rabbit ears, you could pick up whatever was in your region, and that was what you would watch if you didn't have cable or satellite. Fast channels are the same way. As long as you have internet, which, 97% of the world, or the country at least does, right? As long as you have internet and your device is connected, you can pick up those channels.
Yes.
And you mentioned Speed Sport 1 as specifically one we work with.
Yep.
They're a fast channel, and you can pick that up. Almost everybody has an Amazon account, an Amazon account, a Pluto account, all those major ones that are out there, Sling, different ones. They're available on all of those. And you don't have to do anything. Just go to the live TV on the device, and it's right there. You don't pay a thing. Same as rabbit ear TV, different delivery mechanism. And if you want to go even more in depth, like cable, I can pay for my cable and get more stuff. There are subscription services out there like ours that you can get more and just pay a little bit and you've got it. So it's the same exact model, just a different delivery mechanism.
Yeah, and again, it feels like more and more it's becoming the easiest and most widely accessible because, as you said, 97%, almost 100% has access to the internet. So it's really a crazy deal the way it's developed, but I love seeing the progression of it because, with all due respect to the over-the-air folks, I think at some point the idea of generating a show like we do or you guys do, and then having a place like PowerTube or Speed Sport 1 to put it on means we can actually almost get to more people than if it was on, you know, an over-the-air channel where only the people that have access or pay for that can get to it.
Absolutely. I told an old school TV guy who's one of the sharp ones. He was on the digital trend before a lot of them were.
Yeah.
But I was telling him, I don't know, probably a decade ago, and I was like, you know what's going to happen? I can see this coming now. Your phone's going to have a TV antenna built into it, and that's what you're watching on. I didn't realize how right and how wrong I was, right?
Thank God we skipped the antenna part.
Right, but they had FM antennas in phones at some point not that long ago, right? But the infrastructure for the network has become so good on the internet that you don't need that anymore.
Right.
And it's the same concept. I just was a little wrong on the specific tech, but same concept.
It's amazing, really, how it's progressed. We appreciate you taking some time to talk to us. Tell everybody again how they get to Pit Road TV and how they subscribe.
Very simple. You go to pitrow.tv, PITROW.tv, and you click on an event. The subscription information is there. There's a link to all of our apps, all of our things you can watch it on, how to watch it if you want to cast it, different ways to do that. So any way you want to enjoy it, all that's on there. It's very simple, pitrow.tv. And you can also check out some of our other sister networks, US Legend Cars TV, Track TV. They're, like I said, all the ASA National Tour races. So, yeah, that's how you can get on there. We'd love to have folks on, and I think you certainly enjoy it.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit TrackTune.live for all the details and join Tracks nationwide on the app today.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
For over 50 years, FHS Superior Synthetic Oil has powered high-performance engines with unbeatable protection and speed. Whether it's drag racing, go-karts, sprint cars, stock cars, or your daily driver, FHS stands for high speed and delivers every time. Their advanced synthetic oils boost your engine's responsiveness, acceleration, and efficiency, giving you the winning edge on every lap. Visit FHSoil.com today to find the right products for your engine. FHSoil.com. It was a great opportunity for me to sit down with Tony. I hope you enjoyed that, talking a little bit about the live streaming side and general broadcasting side of the motorsports arena, if you will. And we move from there to the fast TV side of things, where we're going to now talk with Ray Iddings. Ray is one of the two founders, along with Brian Bassone, of PowerTube TV, and I've been wanting to sit down with both of them for a while. We didn't get to talk with Brian at the show because he was pretty busy, and so was Ray, but Ray was able to take some time out of his busy schedule in the PowerTube TV booth to come over and join us and talk with us a little bit about his background and how he kind of got to where he is today, which is really a fascinating story, I should add. And also talking about PowerTube TV's story as well, and you know where they're going for 2025 and beyond. At the PRI show in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I am honored, honestly, to be joined by one of our mentors from PowerTube TV and someone who I know knows a whole lot more about all of this than I do. But you're about to meet Ray Iddings, and Ray is the
head of development.
Head of development at PowerTube TV. So, Ray, first of all, talk a little bit about what a head of development does.
Not a whole lot, really. I had to develop, basically, I help guys like you who have an idea, have a vision, and I just help you craft your show.
Okay.
Develop that show, make it the best that it can be. Hopefully it's going to resonate with our audience. Hopefully it's going to be something you want to do, because TV's hard, right?
TV is definitely hard.
The grind of getting this done is hard. Trying to get interviews. I mean, how many times have we been scheduled just this morning and had to miss it because of life, right?
Yes.
So that's basically what I do.
Okay. So now let's talk about how you came to do it. What's your background in all of this?
So I was lucky enough, I started, it was called Internet Radio then, in 2006.
Yep.
I had a podcast, and I did air-cooled VW drag racing. Volkscast Radio. And so
Volkscast Radio, I love it.
the whole premise of the show was all those guys that I love air-cooled VWs. I grew up in Arizona. That's my thing. And my goal was to take those guys that I watched when I was a kid going to bug-ins and all that stuff and treat them like an NHRA top fuel driver, right? And the show's hook was, the very first question I would ask is, what's your VW story? Because all of us at a certain age, we all have that story, right? About, I was in, my sister had one, or I had one and the floor was all rusted out in it, or whatever. And it became super popular. And I lucked out. I did what's called a live stream now, from Surprise, Arizona, where they were filming a brand new TV show on Speed called Pinks.
Okay.
And we had built a VW to compete on this show.
Oh.
And I did this live stream, and it turned out to be their first 1-hour show. And I met this guy, Rich Christensen.
Okay.
So Rich was the host of Pinks, the guy, who drops his arms. And for whatever reason, Rich was enamored with me and would call me 7, 8, 9 times a day.
That sounds a little creepy, honestly.
It was great because we just talk about car show ideas. He's not a car guy. So long story short, he came up with a couple of ideas. We sold them to Speed, and he said, you're going to produce these shows.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, what's a producer? I don't know what that is. I did commercial loans at the time.
Oh, that's a world apart.
Actually, you know what? The funny thing is, the thing about doing commercial loans or home loans, it's the same thing. You have to tell a compelling story so that the underwriter says, yes, we want to take a chance on this. So that's it's the same muscles. It's just not as dry information, right?
Right.
And next thing I know, he sends me down to Nashville to meet with another producer named Martin Fisher. Martin, oh my gosh, the guy did Metallica's first video. He did some stuff with Steve Jobs at Apple. Wow. He did Garth Brooks' first special for NBC.
I saw that.
Remember Texas Stadium? When they'd open up the roof, you'd see those girders that went across the Texas Stadium?
Yes, sir.
Martin Fisher hung those for the Garth Brooks special.
Wow.
So this guy knows it all. And he let me come in there, and I got to make all the mistakes. Not just some of them, all of them. He let me make every single mistake possible. And it was just amazing to work with him. And then pretty soon, we had like 6 shows on Speed at the same time. And,
wow.
We had all the number 1 shows on the network. And I did a little show called Pastime. We did like 149 episodes. The first automotive game show.
I still love that show.
And another show called Drag Race High, where we pitted high school students against each other. The shop classes. That was a big one for me. We took the shop kids and we treated them like the football team. So they had to build this car, build it by themselves, get all the sponsors for it, and then we took them out. They raced against the other school. We brought the cheerleaders out to cheer them on. The high school band was out there playing,
That's
just
awesome.
gave them that same experience that the football players get. And that show is still close to my heart. And then I just continued to make shows and have success making shows. And Brian Bassone, who is the CEO of our little thing, PowerTube TV.
Which is becoming a very big thing in a hurry.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Brian was on Pink's All Out as he was talent on that show. And Brian and I got to talking one day, and he said, I think I want to try to get all these old shows that we did at Speed back, because we can leverage them and bring the shows back to...
Sure.
Originally, we were going to take them to Discovery.
Okay.
So we were having these meetings with Discovery. Things were going great. And then suddenly they're like, hey, we don't have any money to spend, because they were secretly getting bought by Warner at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so Brian and I both, because we don't have anything to do, decided we should start our own network.
We should start a network.
That's what we did. We started PowerTube. We took those popular shows from Speed, and those were our lost leader. Those were
Okay.
those shows that brought people into the tent. And then I went out and found people like you and others that are super talented, and
Thank
just started massaging and making our own shows. I think what separates us from all the other networks like this that are around, there's only a couple left, because
Yes.
Motor Trend's going away.
Yeah, that's really a shame, too.
But we're grassroots guys, right? We love this stuff.
Yep.
And that was always the big disconnect for me doing automotive TV for other networks, is that you were usually dealing with executives that kind of had disdain for our audience. They had disdain for the kind of programming we were doing. And, these are the best people.
I agree.
The cars and the racing, they do 90% of the work, because they look amazing, they're fast, they do
Fun.
crazy things, but the rest is the people. Most of these guys that go to these events, live events, it's the hang. It's not so much the competition.
Yeah.
The competition's part of it, but it's really the best of times, hanging out with your friends, barbecuing, drinking beer, whatever. Is that a long-winded answer?
Yeah, well, it's a perfect answer, and it's great to see how you and understand the kind of how you grew up into this, because starting your own network, I know it's been hard enough for us as Steering Wheel Nation to start a show, let alone a whole entire network. So my question is, what kind of challenges have you run into getting this thing off the ground? Because you've been a year and a half now, and you're growing very quickly.
Yes.
That can be good or bad.
No, that's... the best thing, I've had many relationships with other producers in this industry. And the dirty little secret about television is it makes people do stupid things. You have people that they want credit for things that they didn't do.
Yeah.
They are looking for the lowest hanging fruit and all of that. And Brian and I both are workers. It's 16, 18-hour days for us, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And we love every minute of it. And we both have our lane that we kind of stay in. But we go back and forth, and there's no animosity, right? At the end of the day, we're trying to deliver what's best.
Sure.
The best show, on time, great entertainment value. If you spend an hour with us, I want you to feel like you didn't waste your time doing that, right? And the thing for me personally as a TV producer, thank God I came to it later in life.
Yeah.
I was in my mid-30s when I became a TV producer. So I've worked a heck of a lot harder for a heck of a lot less. And I don't know the best way to put this. I really appreciate how difficult this is and I want to respect people's time.
Yeah.
So if you're going to give me that time, which is the most important thing, I want to make sure I do my job, make sure you're entertained and all that.
For sure.
And it's been a blast. You learn I've learned so much that I didn't know. It's one of those things I was teased with Brian the other day that, if I would have known then what I know today, when he said, hey, let's start this, I probably would have given it a little more thought than I did. I would have been, well, maybe not.
Yeah, so many of the greatest business opportunities, though, are started by naivete, right?
Truth.
You don't know what you don't know, and you say, hey, I got a background, I want to do this, and I'm going to do it.
Absolutely.
And then you get into it, and you realize, oh.
The one thing that I've learned in my television career is that I don't worry about the money. So many people get wrapped up. People, I want to be an influencer. I'm going to do a YouTube show. I'm going to make tons of money.
Yeah.
Forget all of that. I focus on the work. If the work is good, the money always follows every single time.
Absolutely.
Without fail.
Yep.
And we've been so fortunate because Brian and I are lucky enough to know a ton of people in this business. And they're the salt of the earth people. And most of our relationships are 15, 20 years long. And when they leave a company to go to another company, they take us with them. And so that has really been a huge help for us because it's allowed us to get the right partners to work with and all that other boring stuff that you probably don't want to know about.
Well, I do want to know, though, what is PowerTube TV? How would you, I know how I would describe it as a viewer and obviously a creator, but how would you describe PowerTube TV to an audience full of people who are really into motorsports and maybe they just don't quite know what it consists of?
So PowerTube is by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. So if you love drag racing, those shows are going to be representative of what drag racers know it to be.
Right.
If you're into mega trucks, same thing. It's going to be representative of what mega truck guys want. And we try to do a smorgasbord of all of it so that it's technical for, we have a lot of guys that want to get into the weeds. They want to know spark plug gaps. They want to know camshafts. They want to know engine sizes. We're going to get in the weeds about that stuff. But we also are there for people that have no idea.
Right.
We want everyone in the tent, because what I tell, I've not missed an Indy 500 since I was 16. Okay?
You mean going to the
Indy 500.
Wow.
That's my dad's thing.
Awesome.
And that's my dad is 80, and
My
that is our
favorite race.
thing. We park in the same place every year. We sit in the same seats, and I hated it when I was a kid. And one year I went to Carb Day, and I'm sitting in the stands, and it turns out I'm sitting next to James Garner, the actor, and he explained it to me. This is pit strategy. This is what they're trying to do. This is why he's taking the line that he's taking. He was super patient with me.
He's a great guy.
And from that moment on, I was hooked. And that's kind of the secret sauce with all racing.
Yep.
Once you learn the lingo and what's going on, you'll find what attracts you to it.
Crazy stuff. How many shows do we have on the network now?
Oh my gosh. We started with 9 series, about 785 episodes, all series that I did. And when you look at it like that, it's overwhelming. But it's also kind of humbling because it all fits on a hard drive.
Sure.
Your life's work is on this little hard drive.
There it is. Yeah.
So now we have over 50 some odd series. Plus we have a couple like documentaries. I just met a kid who's got a great story, and I watched a little bit of his documentary that's coming to the channel. He wants to be a Formula 3 racer, and it's amazing stuff. We got a bunch of new shows starting this month. Premier Mega Truck is
Yep,
coming.
they're here. at
So
the
if
show.
you love big trucks, if you love big motors, if you love lots of mud, that's the show for you. It's coming. We have probably the most original car pitch that I've heard in the last 6 years. The show is called Cars of the Macabre. Helen Stanley is the host.
Oh, wow.
I know. And it is true crime and cars combined. It is compelling. It's funny. It's crazy.
Cars of the Macabre.
And I love that I can
Wow.
still be surprised, right?
Yeah.
So people are still coming up with original stuff. So Cars of the Macabre is coming. We have Rod Styles' Green Martian getting ready to start, which is a build show. They're building a 1928 Ford, I think is what it is. We have The Race of Gentlemen, a 6-episode limited series about the Race of Gentlemen, which I think is all pre-1930s cars. They race across the country. Amazing. I'm forgetting way more than I'm remembering, but we have a lot of stuff. And we're trying to find, if it has a motor in it, I'm interested in it, right? And so that is kind of my my North Star. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't have to love every show that's on our network. And those actually are the shows that I'm most attracted to. Because, well, it's like your show, Tom. Great example. You had a vision for what you want your show to be.
Right.
My job is to help you realize your vision, not my vision.
Right.
It's way more interesting to me if you succeed at what you're trying to do, as opposed to me going, okay, we're making cookies. Here's the recipe.
here's the recipe.
Make these cookies. So.
Yeah. So how many do we have? Are we at 40 or are we
Shows?
over 40?
Oh, no. 53
Wow.
series.
Top 53, top 50.
No, you mean, where are you ranking wise on the network?
No,
I don't know that.
How many total different shows are we
53.
airing? 53 different shows.
Yeah.
So
And-
we topped the half-century mark.
And yes,
That's
and
impressive.
if this weekend is any indication, PRI is always very good for us.
Sure.
There's something about being in Indiana when it's super cold outside. All you can do is make deals. If most of those shows come on, probably 24 shows, and like high quality. It amazes me the stuff we can do now with smaller gear, smaller crews,
Sure.
high production value. That used to take us these, $100,000 cameras, and you had to have a camera guy that had 15 or 20 years in the business. It's amazing what technology is kind of letting us do. And we are like a traditional network. You come 8 o'clock on a Wednesday to watch your favorite show, or Thursday at 8 or Friday at 9. And you sit down, you watch your show. We have the video on demand so people can watch it later. But in that aspect, everyone's talking about how much television is changing. Since I've been in the business, they have been worried about the internet. Now, there's two things. One, I'm not worried about that because the cable companies own the pipe. They own the internet. So what they're really upset about is they're not going to make money on both sides.
Right.
It's going to
That's
be one
it.
side or the
Yeah.
other. And that's good. And the other thing is quality content always rises. Television shows make no money. Unless your show can crypto mine in the background, which
Right.
no show can,
Yeah.
but unless it can do that, they don't make money. Sponsors help us.
Right.
Viewers help us. Commercials help us. And there's no reason that needs to go anywhere. We are 100% free. We want to keep our channel free. And the way we do that is commercials and sponsors. Because I'm sick of paying $4.99 for an app or $10.99 for this app.
Exactly.
It's as much as cable was. So that's why we're free.
So the fast TV format,
Yep.
one, I feel like that is the best format and the most kind of likely to succeed format on the digital side. But two, I think people sometimes still want to, oh, you're on the internet. This is television. It's just a different way of distributing it.
I mean, we're on Roku.
Yeah.
We're on Amazon Fire. Yes, it's delivered through the internet, but I'll tell you a dirty little secret. The traditional cable channels are delivered through the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? The days of the big TV truck with the satellite, and you're beaming it up to the satellite and then down to the network to broadcast it over the air, that's what's went away.
That's right.
But it's been the internet for the last 15 years. We just didn't call it that, you know?
And everybody has a phone, just about.
Exactly.
So if your phone's connected to the internet, you can watch PowerTube TV all day long, no matter where you're from, because we've got the app, we've got all the different platforms. I'll let you go ahead because you can do it better than me.
No, I was just. What's interesting to me is so many people are worried about they want to have just their show on this one little platform, and they want to make all their money from that platform. We are trying to be on everything.
Yeah.
Because that's how we're going to succeed. That's how we're going to win. And not having the barrier, there's no barrier to entry. If you're interested in motorsports of any kind, and we have lifestyle programming and build programming and informational programming and the podcast, you know, we've got something for everybody.
Yep.
There's no barrier to entry. You can get right on the app, free, watch it. And what I was going to say is viewer habits are really interesting to me. I'll give you a quick little statistic. Our YouTube channel, which we use as a marketing piece, we put shows up there just to market. We want you to go to watchpowertubetv.com to watch the shows because it's got the traditional schedule.
Right.
But if you look at YouTube, our average viewer is about 18 minutes. They stay, and the average for YouTube across the board is 6 minutes. So we're killing that. On Roku, our average view time is 44 minutes. And I think the only difference is Roku, you have a remote in your hand. So it's like traditional TV.
Right.
YouTube, you usually have your phone in your hand. So you're doing this. And I think it's just an interesting way of looking at how television is consumed.
Well, really, I mean, I was watching on Roku last night in the room, and the schedule, it looks just like a major TV network.
It is. I do that schedule, my friend.
It's incredible. I mean, it really is in the way that it gets presented, and it's really something to see how it's grown so quickly in a year and a half, and it feels like, I mean, I think we're adding some more distribution soon.
Yep.
Get us worldwide, different places and whatever. I mean, there's so much going on that it feels like we're poised for even greater growth over the next year and a half.
Totally. And it has nothing to do with me. It's all the viewers. The viewers are killing it for us. They're loyal. They're tuning in. And the only thing I have to do is make sure I give them high-quality content to watch.
Yep.
And I don't know how to operate the fryer at McDonald's, but I know how to do that.
Right.
So I will keep doing that as long as people keep watching that, you know.
Well, I know you're a busy guy here at the show, so we want to be respectful of your time, but it is an honor for us to be on your air on PowerTube TV.
We love having you.
And we're excited to talk to you about some things for 25. And, you know, we just appreciate the opportunity that you extend to creators like us who are trying to, we believe what we do is good. We tell great stories. We want to get stories out there to the masses, and PowerTube is a great, easy, and free way to do it. And we're thankful for that. So appreciate you taking some time, Ray, and we look forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you, Tom.
That is Ray Iddings. Our content, as always, here at PRI. We're stationed in the TrackTune booth. If you are a race fan, you obviously go to a racetrack, and when the cars come out, you can't hear the announcer anymore. TrackTune solves that problem. TrackTune is an app that allows you to hear the PA system right through your connected device. If you're a track or you're a series, you need this technology. It's great to replace your old outdated FM transmitter because no fans are walking around with AM/FM Walkmans anymore. This is the way to go. TrackTune.live, and also want to thank Butch Lamb and the folks from RadicalRaceGear.com for helping us out this week as well.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit TrackTune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
For over 50 years, FHS Superior Synthetic Oil has powered high-performance engines with unbeatable protection and speed. Whether it's drag racing, go-karts, sprint cars, stock cars, or your daily driver, FHS stands for high speed and delivers every time. Their advanced synthetic oils boost your engine's responsiveness, acceleration, and efficiency, giving you the winning edge on every lap. Visit FHSoil.com today to find the right products for your engine. FHSoil.com. That'll wrap it up for this edition of the Tom Baker Show on PowerTube TV, as always presented by TrackTune. On the next edition, we present yet another in our four-part mini-series of shows from the performance racing industry trade show in Indianapolis. And this time, we are going to have a Fab Four of rising young racing stars from various disciplines of the sport who are really making an impact already and will continue to in 2025. 13-year-old Carter Beatty out of the Concord, North Carolina area will join us, and Carter is working his way up the dirt track open wheel ladder. He is currently winning races and championships both in outlaw karts and in the 600 micro division. And Carter will be joining us for his first ever long-form interview. And we're also going to have Ayrton Hauk on the program. Ayrton is based in the Indianapolis area, and Ayrton is one of the top USF 2000 races, USF Pro racers. And Ayrton also, with his dad, has started a Kenyon Midget Series team. If you're not familiar with that, it's an Indianapolis-based oval track series that Mel and Don Kenyon started many years ago. Ayrton came up through that series and is now giving back as he and his dad have formed a team, and one of their drivers, Evan Patton, will also join us to talk about his young racing career and where he wants to go. And then we will wrap things up with a young man out of Kingsport, Tennessee, who stepped up into the late model division at one of the oldest tracks in Tennessee and won 4 races and Rookie of the Year honors in 2024. Hunter Morgan is going to join us on the program as well. For more great content, join us on steeringwheelnation.com or on our social channels, Facebook and Instagram at The Wheel Nation. You can find me on LinkedIn at Tom Baker Media. And also don't forget to check out our streaming channel, 24/7 Tom Baker shows right here on the PowerTube TV platform. Until next time, I'm Tom Baker. Thanks for watching.